About midnight on a very hot July night, the world was startled to learn about a sea disaster. Collision between the Italian liner Andrea Doria and the Swedish motor ship Stockholm. The overtones of holiday gave way to the quick pace of emergency, of rescue. Part of the scene of heroism and rescue was the distinctive shape of the helicopter, which made its unique contribution in time of trouble first when we were copter lifting wounded in Korea, and which has since become part of everyday life. Nearly a year before the Doria disaster, 2 hurricanes struck Tampico, Mexico in one 10-day period. The streets became torrents, and the people did not know whether to flee or where, or to sit in quiet resignation for disaster to strike. Here, too, the shape of a Vertol was a sign of hope in the sky. They had come from Pensacola on the aircraft carrier Saipan and were led by Commander R.C. Lefevre. What they and the Navy did in Tampico that week was an example of what America can achieve abroad when it mobilizes its machines and disposes them with its heart. Affectionately called Lefevre's Retrievers, the helicopters flew a total of almost 1,000 hours, dropping food to the stranded, lifting the threatened, evacuating people from areas where foundations were crumbling before the swift waters, where escape on foot was impossible and by boat too hazardous to try. They delivered babies and brought typhoid shots, and truly earned a well done. They saved a city, and today they are remembered in prayers in a far corner of a foreign country.
A helicopter is delivered. Behind the Vertol helicopter's feats, the rescues, the multitude of service and civilian accomplishments, some glamorous, some workaday, lies the full strength and complexity of a modern industrial organization. An operation fully based on research and planning. From the huge plant of the Vertol Aircraft Corporation in Morton, Pennsylvania, to the peasant family awaiting rescue on a Mexican hilltop is a straight line, but it is a long one. The idea is not enough. Giant machines, skilled men, long hours, a well-planned organization. Each plays its part in this successful blending of precision and high quota production. A press, accurate enough to make parts for a good watch and powerful enough to form steel, is needed to shape parts for a copter. And as ideas change, and they change and grow fast in the aircraft business, production methods and capacities must be maintained at a constant and often increasing level. The techniques of the assembly line have been brought into play by the tremendous and growing demand. Sub-assembly lines work on sections of the craft, speeding them carefully down the line to the points where they meet other sections. Speed was always possible, so was precision. Both together took a little doing. Final assembly. The front section is in place, the tail section brought to it by conveyor. This is the daily scene at the Vertol plant. The widespread facilities, the system of manufacture in operation, the air of a job understood, leading to a job done. All over the plant, the same process in all its stages moves in the same direction. The instrument console is installed, the key not only to the operation of the craft, but to its unique mobility, the quality which has earned it its place in our defense organization, our civil transportation, and those of our friends and allies. Like the instrument console, the transmission and rotor head unit is timed to reach the fuselage at the point of complete assembly. Included in this job of putting a craft together were not only the shell and the rotors and engine, but the controls, the drive system, auxiliary fuel tanks, electronic equipment for communication and navigation, and everything else a modern flying machine needs. The French are among foreign governments using Vertol aircraft. Elsewhere in the plant, a special organization to test and analyze each part of each helicopter before it's released. Data processing machines and computers solve copters' problems before they are met in the air. You can't assume it will be all right. Now is the time to test in safety, for performance, for reliability. Each rotor blade is put through stresses far beyond those it will ever meet in use, and its action under stress not only observed, but analyzed electronically. Gearboxes are tested under simulated flight conditions before they are installed. And finally, on the whirl tower, the rotor blades are put through their paces to check balance. A tracking flag is raised just to touch the whirling blades. If the marks they leave are close together and equally spaced, the blade assembly has passed. Assembled and tested and just about ready to go, a brand new Vertol helicopter, the achievement of a group, an aggregation of 5,000 people who spend their working hours bringing their individual contribution to the final product. For so many people, there must in turn be machines to make sure that the abilities of each are effectively used, to make sure every man who worked is paid.
This is Operation Alert, an exercise in what we hope will never happen, a grim game. In case of nuclear attack, what happens in Washington where the officials are who must lead and organize in case of the unthinkable emergency? Especially what happens to the military leaders who must arrange for defense and lead counterattack? What happens is they must disperse, for if they perish together, we are all lost. Operation Alert dispersed them by helicopter to special hideaway command posts, so organized that if one is eliminated, others will take over. Army and Air Force Vertols took part, working according to a plan set down long before, operating in foul weather, taking the indispensable men to the safe places, then acting as couriers among those places. Army generals moved out on one side of the Pentagon, Air Force generals moved out on another. This was the second time for Operation Alert, the second successive year in which Vertol helicopters carried some of the nation's top generals, admirals, and high civilian officials of the Defense Department. The hurricane named Janet in Tampico, the operation named Alert in Washington, the foreign disaster, the threat, the need for readiness in our own capital, and the same shape dominates the skies. We have come a long way from the helicopter as a romantic toy, a far-off legend. No one stops to think anymore about the craft which can fly where no others can, land where no others can, do what before had been impossible. It goes over, it goes around, it hovers. It was no surprise that the officials all got where they were going in the right amount of time, tested their installations to see that they would work, and came back that much more assured that we were ready. A Texas tower. Readiness is many things. Here's another. A radar dome on stilts off in the ocean, about 100 miles east of New England. A full line of Texas towers is now in construction along our eastern coast, with radar ranges overlapping for a solid wall of warning out to sea. Between the tower and the mainland, there is one method of travel, the Vertol helicopter. Here, the H-21 proves its reliability, summer and winter, in all kinds of weather. It can hop over the rough North Atlantic waters and bring new crews and food and portable radios and books, service equipment and mail call. Airmen who man these towers are limited to a month's duty at a time. They must get back, but first their relief crews must come out. This is how they do it. The Texas Tower system extends our defensive air effectiveness and therefore our safety against enemy air attack 200 miles further eastward. Building the towers was a prodigious job, but it would have counted for very little without getting the men out there to man them. On a mountaintop in New England, the military has a research installation whose work is marked top secret. Here again, the duty is hazardous and the life of the men isolated. The terrain is impassable and snow blows in the high winds almost all year round. We are now 4,000 feet up, the temperature 47 degrees below zero. But Vertols can fly in temperatures as low as 65 degrees below zero. Once again, the helicopter makes it up the mountain carrying incredible loads inside its airliner cabin or slung beneath its hull, able to fly under the most turbulent air conditions encountered on the mountain. What could have taken a week has taken a few hours, and the copter takes off to return to the foot of the mountain and to go on a similar mission another day soon. Far in the trackless wastes of northern Canada, we're building something called the Dew Line, a distant early warning system of radar installations, a frontier of alertness stretched out across the top of the continent. This Vertol came in an Air Force transport and is put together right out on the airstrip in the shadow of the plane which brought it. Our men are at radar stations scattered along the Arctic Circle, each isolated in the wilderness. This is how each is connected to the other. radar equipment crated and ready to move. The copter, painted in the distinctive red of our Air Force's Arctic Air Command, moves first. The crate weighs almost 1.5 tons, and inside is a delicate mechanism. The huge weight must be moved without jarring. The pickup is neat, and the voyage uneventful as the helicopter travels above snow, frozen marsh, uncharted wasteland, through which no road goes and no road could be built economically, since no one wants to go anywhere along the way, but just from here to there. At the other end, the radar station, which needs this warning gear to be useful. There is perhaps $1 million involved in this single operation. More important, any one of these installations, perhaps this one, may give the warning which will save untold lives. This is the mechanism which will give the warning. It is important. It comes in just right. It does. The Army is using the Vertol helicopter as the carrier of its Sky Cavalry. Pictures made at an exercise in Oklahoma show how this works. Mobility, load-carrying ability, versatility. These are called for to the fullest in this exercise. A full combat front can be manned, advanced, evacuated, supplied in minimum time. Enemy strong points are leapfrogged for daring hit-and-run attacks. And before the strong points are brought to bear, the attackers are gone. Again, these are simulated tactics we hope we never have to use. Perhaps if we know them well enough, we never shall.
At the Morton, Pennsylvania plant, as in all aircraft plants, tomorrow was here yesterday. The day after is on the drawing boards and in the planning rooms. The researchers and experimenters are forever bringing new situations for the computers to analyze, new hypotheses and theories. Bigger vertical takeoff and landing craft, faster ones with greater ranges, higher speeds. And tomorrow's dreams of the conquest of the air we live in. The machines are helping them consider problems far into the future at a speed that makes it possible to apply the solution in time for the next engineering advance. And the machines are only as good as the men. The answer you get is only as useful as the question you ask is visionary. The machines can't tell you what tomorrow looks like. They can tell you if your dream will work. You need above all the men to plan ahead, to operate the big plant, to tell the machine what to think about, what question to answer. Decisions here become facts, long distances away. Refueling in midair now allows the helicopter to move over widening distances in shorter periods of time. Skyways without runways are being extended, and the unique silhouette grows familiar on every horizon in the world. On Pike's Peak, in the heart of the continent, nearly 3 miles up into the clouds, you can see it. Or over the surface of the sea, it does its work, towing or carrying, lifting or delivering, over short distances or for long journeys, bringing goods, supplies, emergency parts for the purposes of commerce, for the needs of an alert defense, bringing men where they must be, carrying things where they are needed. The helicopter is always moving, always filling the big jobs and little jobs. Around the clock, around the world, you will find Vertol helicopters at work.